Almost 2 years after its release, I gave Starfield another try it probably didn't deserve. Bethesda promised a galaxy of freedom, story, and exploration, but what we found was a checklist in space. Literally. Welcome, this is True Score Gaming. No hype, no fluff, just the truth. Starfield was hyped as Bethesda's next genre-defining RPG. A brand new IP. One of the first in decades. Bigger, bolder, and set among the stars. A sci-fi RPG rooted in space exploration, distinct from Fallout's post-apocalyptic grit or Skyrim's fantasy charm. While it carries Bethesda's open-world RPG DNA, it was meant to carve its own identity. And with people like Todd Howard calling it Skyrim in space, expectations weren't just high, they were astronomical. No pun intended. You were supposed to chart your own destiny, fly freely between solar systems, build your own ships and outposts, explore alien worlds, romance companions, take sides in political faction wars, and unlock the mysteries of the universe. That sounds incredible, right? But what we got instead was a game that spreads itself across a massive canvas only to barely scratch the surface. And after over 100 hours across 2 playthroughs, one phrase rings true. Starfield is a mile wide and an inch deep. So, let's talk gameplay. The core loop is predictable. Travel, speak to companions, land, shoot, get interrupted by your companions, loot, fast travel again, get interrupted by your companions, rinse and repeat. It's functional, but rarely fun. Exploration becomes mechanical. Planets are largely empty, procedurally generated with minimal handcrafted detail. You might land expecting to discover ancient ruins or lost tech, and instead you find a small building you've seen 100 times with the same layout and the same loot. Combat is passable. Gunplay feels more modern than Fallout 4, but the AI is sluggish. Bullet sponging is common, and some hit detection bugs, like shots going right through the enemy, still exists. Progression is slow. Skill trees lack perks behind arbitrary challenges. Want to boost ship combat? Better win X number of dogfights. Want to boost your stealth? You better crouch around for 10 minutes per outpost. And the survival mechanics? They didn't even exist at launch. Eating and drinking was purely optional, used for minor buffs. Bethesda later added a survival slider post-launch, but it still feels like an afterthought, because it was. Nothing about the game really changes, it just adjusts some damage modifiers. Ship and base building were marketed as major systems. In practice, they're half-baked. You'll earn pre-built ships that outclass anything you can create. Outposts are disconnected from the core game, useful for farming resources you don't even really need. And the powers you unlock? Mostly forgettable. The acquisition process is copy-pasted. Find a temple, fly in circles and collect some light orbs, grab the power, rinse and repeat. A few powers are cool in theory, like gravity wave or precognition, but most are some flavor of gravity manipulation with limited use. I couldn't even tell you what half of them do, I never used them. Even New Game Plus, which resets the universe and lets you keep powers, feels like a chore. You're encouraged to skip the story and rush temples. But what's the point when the rewards don't evolve meaningfully? There are moments of brilliance, like the Entangled mission with its dual realities. The NASA site with the rich lore, but they're isolated in a sea of mediocrity. Most of Starfield's systems are either underdeveloped, unexplained, or just not fun. The story aims big: mystical artifacts, ancient civilizations, and a multiversal conflict. But none of it lands with any emotional weight. I didn't even realize I had finished the main story during my first playthrough when the game first launched. That's how forgettable it was. The game introduces mysterious characters like the Emissary and the Hunter, but their motivations feel paper thin. By the time I reached the final choice again, I really didn't care anymore. The companion system is weak, Sam tries to flirt mid-combat, Baird overshares at the worst moments, Andrea remains distant and inconsistent, Sarah generic, and Vasco, well, he's a robot. Probably gay too, but who knows? He's pretty cool. Their dialogue loops quickly. Many feel like checklists themselves. Talk to them, get a backstory dump, unlock a side mission, romance done, boom, moving on. Ironically, the best written content lies in the side faction. Roigen Industries' corporate espionage arc was surprisingly engaging. That was the most fun I had in the game. Crimson Fleet's space pirate fantasy delivered some morally great choices. In the UC Ranger storyline, while basic, at least had some identity and you get a cool ship. If only the main narrative had the same level of care. Graphically, Starfield is solid. Environments can look beautiful in stills. There are moments approaching a planet at dusk, floating above Saturn's rings that look stunning. But then you realize everything feels the same. Ancient temples look pristine, derelict ships are copy-pasted, the NASA facility, supposedly over 100 years old, looks like it was built last week. Lighting is inconsistent. In some locations, shadows make bright rooms feel pitch black. Other times, moonscapes without sunlight are brighter than well-lit corridors. Performance-wise, it runs decently. Short load times, stable frame rate, but load screens are constant. Entering ships, buildings, cities, walking through doors, even the elevators. And the voice acting is mid-tier. Characters don't always match the tone of the scene. Facial animations are stiff, emotions don't connect, and the music, ambient and forgettable. Starfield looks good on the surface, but just like the rest of the game, it lacks heart and soul. Now, Starfield isn't broken, but it isn't inspired either. It's not the revolution we were promised. It's a technically stable game that tries to do everything and fails to do anything especially well. For Bethesda fans who love mods, lore digging, and side content, there's some fun to be had. But if you're looking for a rich sci-fi story, meaningful exploration, or groundbreaking RPG systems, you'll leave disappointed, like I did. Starfield plays like a space-themed reskin of Fallout 4, more checklist than adventure. My verdict? Mixed bag, worth waiting for a sale. And even then, I'd caution you. Starfield. It had the scope of a galaxy, but the soul of a checklist. If you like no hype, no fluff, honest reviews, subscribe for more. This is True Score Gaming. See you in the next one.